Your Triumph may already be carrying problems that the dealer service desk quietly hopes you never learn to handle yourself. Every time a simple adjustment gets turned into a shop appointment, money leaves your pocket for work. Many riders could manage in their own garage. The trouble is, most owners were never shown these methods because the people who know them have no reason to share. They profit from the gap in your knowledge. And if you've been booking your bike in for things you could do at home, you've likely been paying for that gap for years. Over a long ownership, that adds up to far more than the bike's value and unnecessary labor charges. There are 7 of these overlooked tricks, and each one touches something you depend on every ride. The engine, the clutch, the fuel system, the heat management. Pay close attention, because the last one is the trick mechanics defend hardest, and it could be the one costing you the most. A Triumph is not a disposable machine. Whether you ride a Bonneville, a Tiger, a Street Triple, or a Rocket, you bought engineering that rewards an owner who understands it. That is the problem for the service desk. The more you understand, the less you hand over for work that takes minutes. None of what follows asks you to void a warranty or strip an engine on your kitchen floor. These are owner-level checks and adjustments that the manual quietly expects you to be capable of. The shop would rather you believe each one requires a trained hand in a diagnostic bay. They do not. But knowing which is exactly the knowledge they would prefer you never build. Number 7 is resetting the service reminder yourself. That little spanner or wrench symbol that appears on the dash is not a fault. In most cases, it is simply a mileage or time-based reminder telling you a service interval has arrived. Riders see it, panic slightly, and book the bike in immediately. The hidden consequence is that some shops will charge a diagnostic or handling fee just to clear that light on top of the actual service. You may notice the light returns even after a simple oil change because nobody reset the counter. What to do instead is learn the reset procedure for your model, which is often a sequence of holding a button while switching on the ignition. Confirm the exact steps in your owner's manual because they vary by year and model. But the next one is worse because most riders think they are protecting the bike when they are quietly wearing it out. Number 6 is chain tension and lubrication. Owners avoid touching the chain because it feels like a precision job, so they leave it until a service. The risk is that a chain run too tight stresses the gearbox output bearing and countershaft, while the chain run too loose accelerates sprocket wear and can, in rare cases, jump or snap. You may notice a tight chain as harsh, notchy power delivery at low speed, or a clunk when the suspension compresses. A correctly adjusted chain should have the free play your manual specifies, measured at the tightest point with the bike on its stand. Cleaning and lubing it every few hundred miles is genuinely owner-level work. Do this yourself, and a chain that should die at the dealer can last far longer. This one is cheap to fix, but easy to ignore, and it is still not the adjustment that catches most riders off guard. Number 5 is clutch and throttle free play. Cables and clutch take up drift over time, and riders simply adapt to the change without noticing. The danger is a clutch with no free play can slip under load and overheat, while a throttle with too much slack delays your response in a corner exactly when you need it. You may notice the engine revving without matching acceleration, a clutch bite point that has crept to the very edge of the lever, or a vague feeling off idle. The adjusters are usually right at the levers and take minutes to set to the figure in your manual. If your bike uses a hydraulic clutch instead, that becomes a fluid check rather than a cable adjustment, so confirm which system you have. Get this right and the bike feels new again. The next problem usually starts long before any warning light appears. Number 4 is the air filter. It sits out of sight, so owners assume it is fine until a service invoice tells them otherwise. A restricted filter can lean or richen the mixture, hurt throttle response, and make the engine work harder for the same air. You may notice sluggish pull, worse fuel economy, or a bike that feels like it is breathing through a straw on a long ride. Inspecting it is often a matter of a few fasteners and a cover, and replacing a paper element is straightforward on many models. Some Triumphs use a filter that is more involved to reach, so check your manual before assuming it is a 5-minute job. Either way, knowing whether yours is clogged means you decide when it is replaced, not the shop. And this is where many riders accidentally hand over money for a part that was nowhere near the end of its life. Number 3 is the battery and charging system. Riders blame a no start on the battery, replace it, and feel solved, when the real issue may be elsewhere. The hidden consequence is a weak charging system or a parasitic drain that kills the new battery just as fast, sending you back for another. You may notice slow cranking, dimming lights at idle, or a bike that starts fine when ridden daily but dies after sitting a week. A basic multimeter check of resting voltage and charging voltage at the terminals tells you far more than guessing. A smart trickle charger during storage protects the battery you already paid for. This is simple, but it is still not the one mechanics protect most fiercely. Number 2 is reading what the bike is already telling you. Many modern Triumphs store fault codes and display warnings the rider learns to ignore. Owners assume any code means a dealer visit. In reality, the dash and a basic code reader can often point straight to the system at fault, which means you walk into the shop informed instead of paying a diagnostic fee to be told something you could have known for free. You may notice a warning light that comes and goes, or a symptom nobody has explained. Learn what your warning lights actually mean from the manual before you accept an open-ended diagnosis. Never clear a code blindly if it relates to brakes, ABS, or anything safety critical, and verify with a certified technician when in doubt. Number 1 is the one I would understand before spending a single dollar at the dealer. And finally, number 1 is the valve clearance interval. This is the work the service desk defends hardest because it carries the largest labor charge of any routine job on the bike. Riders are told the bike needs a valve service at a set mileage and book it without question. Here is what many never learn. At that interval, the manual usually calls for an inspection. And in many cases, the clearances are still in spec and need no adjustment at all. You may be paying full adjustment labor for what was only a check. You may also notice nothing wrong, which is precisely why it is easy to oversell. You likely cannot do this job at home, and that is fine. But knowing the difference between inspection and adjustment and asking what the measured clearances actually were can change what you pay and whether the work was needed. The risk of skipping it entirely is real, so do not ignore the interval. Just stop treating it as an automatic blank check. Here's the checklist I would give any rider who wants this machine to last. Learn the service light reset for your exact model and confirm it in the manual. Set chain-free play to spec on the stand, and clean and lube every few hundred miles. Check clutch and throttle free play monthly and after any long trip. Inspect the air filter at every oil change and decide for yourself when it goes. Test resting and charging voltage at the battery with a multimeter, and use a smart charger during storage. Write down any warning light and what triggered it before you visit a shop. At a valve interval, ask whether it is an inspection or an adjustment, and ask for the measured clearances in writing. Verify every spec against your owner's manual, and stop riding to diagnose anything involving brakes, ABS, charging failure, or a chain near its limit. None of this turns you into a master technician overnight. It turns you into an owner the service desk cannot guess with. Every item here is something you either paid for already or can manage with basic tools and the manual that came with the bike. The dealer still has a place for the heavy work, but you decide when that work is real. Learn the machine and the markup loses its power over you. If you own one of these machines, subscribe. This channel is built around helping owners understand what they already paid for. Know the machine before it costs you.